Hi kids, welcome to another story time with me, Story Wizard. Right, shall we see what stories we've got today? Nina the Gobbledegoat. Oh, that sounds intriguing. Nina the goat was Mrs. Berry's special friend. Mrs. Berry had found Nina tethered at the side of a narrow lane. A note was attached to one horn. It said, "Please look after this goat. She has eaten us out of house and home." "You poor thing," Mrs. Berry had said, untying the rope. "Come back with me." Goats will eat anything, and Nina did. Nina was quite useful as an outdoor hoover when Mrs. Berry swept up the leaves, or as an indoor dustbin when Mrs. Berry threw away the vegetable peelings. Then things started to disappear. At first, no one really noticed, but soon Mrs. Berry started to get cross with the children, Tom and Minnie, for all the funny things that went missing. "Have you hidden all the socks, Tom?" she asked, searching through the washing basket. "There's only one sock here, and that's not enough for a family of 6. "And what's happened to my tablecloth?" she said on another day, peering through a large hole. "Did you ride your bike into my washing line, Minnie?" Next, Mr. Berry couldn't find his Wellington boots. He was sure he'd left them by the back door. He was just coming in to ask Mrs. Berry if she'd seen them when, whoops, he tripped over one of the boots lying on the doormat. The heel was chewed away. The last straw was when the baby's bonnet disappeared along with his knitted pram blanket. Now Mrs. Berry was very cross indeed, and the children were fed up with being blamed. "I think it's Nina's fault. She's always hungry," said Minnie. "I know. Let's follow her and see what happens," said Tom. The next day, Tom and Minnie were amazed to see Nina tiptoe into the hall. She sniffed the coat stand and then, crunch! There went Mr. Berry's umbrella handle. Crack! She snapped 6 of the spokes. Slurp! She swallowed Grandpa's hat in one. Before Tom and Minnie could do anything, Nina disappeared in the direction of the kitchen. A few moments later, Mrs. Berry went into the kitchen and called the family for tea. Tom and Minnie sat in their usual places. They couldn't see Nina anywhere. Then they heard, by now, a familiar sound. Gulp, gobble. It was coming from under the tablecloth. "What have you eaten now, Nina?" whispered Tom suspiciously, peering down at the goat under the table. Nina's eyes bulged dangerously. Minnie looked around the kitchen. Everything seemed in its place. The cake, surprisingly, was still on the table. The tea was still waiting to be poured. Nina swallowed hard and her popping eyes returned to their normal size. Suddenly, she came out of her hiding place and trotted over to the cooker. She opened her mouth. La la la, tra la la. Instead of her normal plaintive bleat, out came the most beautiful music. Everyone stopped talking. Their knives and forks fell to their plates. "Nina?" gasped Mrs. Berry. "Is that you?" Nina's eaten something strange, Mummy, said Minnie. But we don't know what it is, said Tom. Nina opened her mouth again and said in a deep voice, My views are quite clear. Everyone should ride a bicycle. Quite right. Hear, hear, said Mr. Berry. I didn't know you even knew what a bicycle was, Nina, said Mrs. Berry, peering curiously at the goat. Nina looked away and began to eat a few cake crumbs off the floor. As her lips moved to lick up the icing, she began to sing a jazzy dance tune. Under the moon, dee-da-da, she crooned. With you in June, tra-la-la. Grandpa tapped his foot. The baby bounced up and down in his high chair. A talking, singing goat, exclaimed Grandpa. Nina, you could be famous. Mrs. Berry studied Nina carefully. The goat sang a little song and gave her opinion on what the weather would be tomorrow in the southwest. But as soon as she began to recite a poem, her voice grew fainter and fainter until it stopped. Nina had lost her voice. Nina, said Mrs. Berry kindly, stroking the goat's beard, whatever is the matter? Let me have a look at you. That's funny. There seems to be something in your tummy. I think I'd better send for the vet. The vet came straight away. Lost her voice, you say? Don't you mean her bleat? He shone a torch down Nina's throat. A bit sore, he said. Next, he put a stethoscope on her chest. That's a funny kind of bleat. It sounds more like music. Then, finally, he felt Nina's tummy. What do we have here? Something hard and square. It could almost be a small radio. Yes, here are the knobs. The trouble with Nina is that her batteries have gone flat. Oh, Nina, said Mrs. Berry, you are a silly goat. What are we going to do? The vet considered the woeful animal. Take her back leg, Mrs. Berry, and I'll take the other. I'm going to pat you on the back, Nina, and on the count of 3, please give a big cough. 1, 2, 3. Nina gave a tremendous cough and whoosh! Out shot the radio. Nina bleated just like she used to, and Mrs. Berry gave her a hug. There, said Mrs. Berry. I'd rather have a quiet, ordinary goat anyway. But from now on, you'll have to keep out of trouble. I'm going to make you a little house, all of your own, in the garden, and I'll even put a fence around it. I'm going to put this alarm clock near your dinner bowl. When it's 5 o'clock, the bell will ring and you'll know that I'll be coming with your dinner. Nina nodded happily and eyed the clock with interest. Mrs. Berry's plan to keep Nina out of trouble might just work. But if you ever hear of a goat who ticks and rings at 5 o'clock, it could just be Nina. Oh dear, what a silly goat Nina is. Oh dear. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, because that was funny. Thank you all for tuning in today, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for when I upload new videos, because I will be doing. Okay, see you soon.